Hi everyone, week 12. This is the last of the research videos you're getting from me, of course, and there isn't a lot to say this week. Obviously, this is a week where you're going to be very much focused on your end of term tasks in this unit and in other units. And most of what we'll be doing in the workshop this week, we'll be having a Q&A session for people who, at the last minute, have some questions of, well, when I do this, how do I present that, all that technical stuff. Hopefully not the questions of, haven't started yet, what do I do? Because it's going to be way too late for that. So I don't think that will happen. I hope that won't happen. The last of the workshop tasks in this unit is a reflective task, but it's framed in a way that hopefully will have a certain relevance to you, and that's writing a short letter to a new student and, giving them the advice you wish you'd had when you'd started your law degree. So again, as usual, I'm looking for half a page or so, and it's really about going through that reflective process of thinking, well, I've learned a lot in the last 2.5 or 3 years, or depending on what whether you're part-time, full-time, or how long you're taking, but at this point you will have been at least 2 years into your law program. What are the things that you wished at the start you'd have known that would have made things easier? And I guess that's the point that this unit sort of ends on, is that sense of continuing development. And as a professional, you're never done. You're always learning new things. As a researcher, you're always learning new things. And as an adult, what you'll also find is that the decisions about what to do and how to do this are all in your court. It's not like being at school where someone decides your curriculum and says you must learn this and learn that. As a professional, you'll find that you need to decide for yourself when there are things you need to learn, and you'll need to take action for yourself and look at what your options are to skill up in those areas where you don't know. So it could be something really technical, like a new piece of software that you think this will really help me in my work, or it could be reacquainting yourself with some basics, or it could be, getting and reading around a new issue and learning about a new issue. But professional life is full of opportunities to do this, and this is how you progress. Because, most of what you learn at university, apart from the foundations, but most of the content is going to be sort of largely superseded in the first couple of years of practice. If you've got good habits, good foundations, that will serve you well in learning more. But the law doesn't stand still. Society doesn't stand still. Technology definitely doesn't stand still. So you can't say, oh, that's it, I'm done. I've graduated from my law degree. I'm never going to learn anything ever again, because the world doesn't work like that. The world will leave you behind. So part of the whole approach in this unit, with the matrix and the skills matrix, and the insistence that you look at that each week and you look at your own skills and you set your own agendas, is to get you thinking in that particular way, and to think in the way that a successful professional thinks. A successful professional never goes, oh, what's the bare minimum I can do to get by? When's Friday coming up? I mean, there are people who do that, obviously, but they're not very successful and they don't go very far. And a successful person is someone who always has their eye ahead on the next thing. Obviously, at the moment, the next thing for you guys is getting through the end of term. So this is obviously not the time for you to be looking at the broad horizons and thinking about what you want to do with your career. However, there is never a good time for that. So if you're thinking, oh, well, I'm going to wait till I get a gap, a nice space in my studies, and then I will think about where I'm going and what I'm doing, that's not going to happen, because you're going to have assignments, exams, and then the next term is going to start, and you're going to be back into the circus again. So if you don't ever have that broad view and that broad sense of, well, where am I going and what do I need to do to get there, no one is going to do it for you. No one is going to sit you down and say, well, have you really thought about your career? And unfortunately, we do get students who come back after graduating and say, well, nobody told me I had to do extracurriculars. Nobody told me I had to network and make contacts. What can I do now? Nobody told me I had to get more than a bare pass to get a job at the end. Nobody said these things. And again, that's one of the hard things about adulting, is that nobody does tell you and it's up to you to do those sorts of things. But you have contacts and connections and people who are there to help you, and you make contact with the teaching staff in the program, and if you find you've got someone you get along with and you communicate well with, that person can be a mentor to you, can give you advice and give you help along the way. And again, that's one of the important things about law school that you've got to be very careful of when you're studying online, is that it's not just about content, it's about connections, and it's about getting into those networks and making those lifelong connections. And if you're someone who sort of sits by yourself, studies alone, never goes to class, never contributes, never speaks up, never communicates with the lecturer, you're not going to get any of those things. And those are the sorts of things that in the career employment world are what serve people well, rightly or wrongly. So it's time to think about those sort of things as well, but in that sort of general idea. Not in the I'll have a midlife crisis the day before everything's due in and have a meltdown. But just keep that idea in your mind all the time. And if you haven't been doing more than just doing your studies, if you haven't been engaging, you haven't been volunteering, you haven't been doing all those things, adjust your expectations accordingly. Or talk to some people, find one of the lecture staff that you get on with and say, what can I do? I'm halfway through my degree. What can I do to make myself into a more appealing employee in the long run? All right. So what's next once this is done? If you're following your career planner, you will be at the end of year 2, so you'll be moving into year 3. There is what's often called fourth year blues in law programs, because they're generally 4 years long, but there is generally a point at which in people's final year of their program, when they're sort of ready to graduate, but they're not quite there, and be aware of that you can, there's a certain adrenaline that comes from the first 2 years, I think, from everything being new all the time and everything being kind of new and sparkly and different, and that's stressful, but it is also new, and you can get into a rut in third year where it's like, yeah, okay, I know the formula, I know how this works, I know the way legal subjects work, I know the way law approaches this particular problem area. And that's good, because that means you're achieving mastery. But it can also mean that you can feel as though you get into that sense of feeling, oh, here we go again, this is the same. Now, hopefully, in a 3-year program, you won't have quite the same stretched out feeling that the people in the 4-year program have. And one of the reasons why we've gone for our 4th honours year being really quite different to the 3 years of undergrad is for that reason, so that you are doing something more challenging, more personal, and more relevant to you as an honours student. You're not doing what the 4th years at the Sandstone unis are doing, which is another set of electives, another set of law subjects. But beware of that. And this is also a time, if you are feeling more comfortable in your studies, again, as I said, to start looking at seeking out things like mooting competitions, interviewing competitions. You know, if your law student society isn't running them, get into the law student society, get motivated, get energized, get the law student society into those sort of competitions. Because again, it's one of those things that if you sit back and wait for someone else to do it for you, you'll be doing that the rest of your life. And fortune favors the bold. Get in and get stuff done. And we're here to help you and support you, but we're not here to do everything for you. I'm sure you know that by now. Alright, so that's bringing the term to a close. As I said, in the workshops this week, it'll be more of a Q&A session, be more focused on that last minute kind of technical questions or organisational questions or whatever to get through across the finish line. And I will see you all then.